the act of making the jewellery is very consuming in your mind. So you're not thinking about anything else, and you're just there and you're rolling your clay and you're cutting it and you're shaping the edges. And it's not a frantic, busy, it's calm.
Welcome to Reclaim Your Voice, the podcast for business owners who are ready to be heard, speak on stages and podcasts, and to become genuinely known for what they do. I'm Savannah Madden, confidence and speaking coach for founder-led businesses, and I help you find your voice, own your expertise, and speak in a way that attracts the right clients and opens the right doors. Here we talk about finding your voice, building the confidence to share your message, and doing the real work that gets you recognised by the people you're meant to serve. If you've got something important to say and you want the world to actually hear it, you're in the right place. This is Reclaim Your Voice. Hello and welcome back to Reclaim Your Voice. I'm so excited because today is a guest episode and I am joined by the creator of Silver Snail Jewellery. And this person is going to tell you exactly who they are, what they do and who they serve. And I am not going to do that job for today. So Vicky Barclay, welcome to Reclaim Your Voice.
Oh, thanks, Savannah. I'm very excited to be here. I am Vicky Barclay and I am the creator and owner of Silver Snail Jewellery. A little bit of alliteration for you there. So
Get your teeth around that.
Exactly, yeah. Is a handcrafted jewellery business in the East Midlands where I live. And I use the medium of silver clay to make my jewellery. Silver clay, if for those of you that haven't heard of it, is tiny particles of recycled silver dust extracted from films and x-rays and cars and things like that, that is made into a clay form with water and an organic binder. So we're recycling silver dust. I buy it in as that, but the silver is being recycled. And the clay is then used, it can be shaped, it can be moulded, it can be cut, it can be textured. It's a really versatile, easy to use medium. And it dries and the water evaporates, and then I fire it and the organic binder burns away. And what you're left with is your design in solid silver. So it's pure silver, it's recycled silver, and I just love using it. It's amazing. I also offer workshops as well to teach people how to use this. And it's a little bit more accessible, I think, than traditional silversmithing techniques.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Thank you so much for all the detail there, because although you and I have spoken in the past, I did not know all the intricacies there. I'm sure our listeners are thinking, and what on earth has this got to do with reclaiming your voice and using your voice and confidence and all this sort of stuff? But there is a lot more to your story, Vicky, than being a jewellery maker. So let's go back, shall we? Take me back. Where does your journey start? How did you come into this business? I mean, those are two enormous questions. I think let's start with at the beginning. Tell us a little bit more about your career so far.
Okay, so I have been working since I was 17 and did my GCSEs, but I didn't carry on and complete my A-levels, which is kind of the first part of, I guess, my story in terms of confidence. Was not confident at that time, although I've always appeared to be confident and overt. I'm not actually, as I'm sure a lot of people who appear to be confident actually aren't. So I started working in local government. I did 18 years in local government in different roles. And then I thought, oh, well, I can be self-employed. It's not that hard, is it? She says. And I became a consultant within local government, consulting on things like housing benefits. And then I'd really thought when I was in my 30s, well, approaching 30, I don't have any qualifications. All these people are coming up around me and they have these degrees. I think maybe I should get one. And so I went for a degree in criminal investigation. I've always been interested in the police and investigation and crime and criminology. And I did that part-time whilst I was working as a mature student. And I found actually it's not that hard. And that might sound really arrogant, but it's just a game. Education is a game. And if you understand that game, you can do really well. And I was fortunate enough to go to America as a study abroad, which is a whole nother level of confidence that I'll talk about in a minute. And I came back and I did my master's, again, working part-time, full-time as well then, actually, doing my master's as a fraud investigator, which is what I'd really wanted to do for 15 years. Finally got into that game and then realised actually it wasn't for me. And I started teaching. So lecturing at the university on the course I'd graduated from. And I loved that. And I was like, oh, actually, I'm quite good at this. I really enjoy it. And then Fast forward, lots of politics, moved out of academia into the management side. Again, lots of politics. And that brought me to kind of last year, made redundant. And I thought, you know what? I am now in my 40s, mid 40s. I am so done with the politics of other people's lives. I just want to have some calm. A couple of years ago, so 2022, I'd started doing silver clay as a mindfulness. I want to let my creative side out. I need that work-life balance. And I started doing it. First time I did it, I was like, oh my goodness, I actually made something. I made something. Started selling my silver clay pieces to buy more silver clay, which is how most jewelers start, I think. And that kind of evolved into a hobby. And that is kind of how this business then came about last year when I kind of went full time into it. But going back into the confidence kind of thing, I was always someone who didn't feel very confident in my own worth. I think reflecting back, I'm not a mother. I don't have children. I'm not married, so I'm not a wife. And although I now do own my own home, that was a long way coming. So in terms of the milestones I expected to get very early on in my life, I was not worthy, is how I felt. And to improve my worth, I became helpful. I'm a helpful person. And I started I love brownies and girl guiding. I've always done that, helping since I was kind of 14. And I got my warrant, my life warrant, which gives you the qualification to do it. So I was running a brownie pack, and then I started a new brownie pack in my village because they didn't have any, and then a guide pack, and then I was the district commissioner. So I was having 40 volunteers that I was supporting. And I'm a really helpful person. And I became school governor because I'm a helpful person. And I became the chair of the village hall because, I'm a good community person and I'm really helpful and I'm a leader in the community. This is my work. And then I was also doing my university by this point and working. And it got a bit too much. And I had the opportunity to go abroad to America for 6 months, but that meant taking a career break. It meant stopping all my brownie work. It meant I was also within the church, a leader within a church, so stepping away from that. And I did. And I would say it was the best thing I ever did because that's where I started to find who I was. So I was 32, 33. And I was kind of at the point where I'm stopped the world, I want to get off. I was like, yeah, sure, I can move to America. That was no biggie. And people around me were saying, oh, you must be so brave. I wasn't worried about it at all until I got there. And on that first day, that was the hardest thing I ever had to do, was to walk out of my room and find where I was supposed to be going. And in those 6 months, I was able to strip away all those different titles that I had given myself and choose what I believed in, the type of person I wanted to be, and really start to think about, actually, yeah, I can do stuff. And that 6 months was the best 6 months of my life, finding myself. So I came back, I started to advocate for myself and what choices I wanted to make. I met my partner of 12 years and, things have started to change. But really, it's not until, I think, you choose who you're going to be that you can really start that confidence.
What a story there. So many things. But what I want to pick up on, I think, is the most common thread, is that you created an identity for yourself that was that you were the helpful person, that you were the community person, and that you were there to serve. Right? That you
Yes.
were there to help others, to serve others. And do you feel like that was a little bit of escapism from really connecting with who you really, really are as a person, or something else?
It's a really interesting question because I think at the time I felt those were the on reflection, I felt those were the only opportunities I had to demonstrate my worth to people. On reflection, I actually have a very strong inner core of who Vicky is and who I am. And I'm fine when I'm by myself. It's just when the rest of the world gets on board and then they start criticising, or I perceive that they have negative beliefs of me or opinions of me or on what I've done, that all of that confidence kind of starts to erode away. So I think actually inside, yes, I've always had that really strong, and perhaps that's the confidence that people see when they see me, is when I'm doing when I'm true to myself, I guess, rather than having to do things that people want to do in the way they want to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it does. And it's really interesting because I remember when I first met you and I instantly thought, oh, she's really confident. I also just want to touch on the decision to start your own business, because that definitely takes an enormous amount of confidence. And I know that you said that you were so done with all the politics and all the nonsense going on in the other roles that
Mhm.
you had had in the past. Was there anything else that sort of really cemented that idea for you, that starting your own business was literally the only other option for you?
Yeah, so I've always been someone who it's gonna sound bizarre, maybe there's lots of people like this, I don't know. I really don't like 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, to be somewhere for 9 o'clock, like, I just don't do 9. 10, fine. 9, no. And the pressure for me to be at work on time has always been a thing. And I'm someone who lives with depression. I have been struggling with this particularly over the last 2 years, and all the things at work, perhaps combined with perimenopause, who knows, I just got to the point where I cannot show up as myself anymore, everything that's going on with work. And I just thought, I can't do 9 o'clocks. I can't be the person I want to be and conform to what everybody else seems to think is okay. And the depression that I was experiencing was a lot of self doubt and negativity about my abilities to do anything. I was actually in my dream ideal job. I thought, yeah, do you know what? I'm finally in a job where I feel I am respected. My skills are adequate to do my job. I can get on and do my job. I don't need help. And actually, I can think a bit higher, in terms of I can see the vision going forward. So I was theoretically my life and a job I loved, but I just couldn't cope. And again, coming back to the core of myself, I know I can't conform to the 9 to 5, you must do it like this, you must have your lunch break at this time, inflexibility of the area I was working in. And to be true to myself, but also for my own mental health, this was the only way forward. So being self-employed, I've never had any doubt that I can be self-employed. It surprises me when things don't go my way because I'm like, of course it'll work. Why wouldn't it work? And that's the confidence that's in me, to be positive. And I think you do need that drive to be self-employed. But living with depression is like that opposite of, you're so rubbish, you can't do anything, you can't even get out of bed properly, you can't get up in the morning, everybody else in the world manages it and they do it with children. You just have to look after yourself and you can't even do that. That negativity combined with, actually, if I don't want to work until 10 in the morning, I don't.
Mhm.
That's fine. And nobody's going to judge me for that. That I needed that kindness and that self-care. So really being self-employed was the only way forward. So over the last year, it's been really tough, or last 15 months. But I would say over the last 6 months, taking that time, being kind, still trying to work, has actually saved me.
It's that yin and that yang, isn't it? Of
Mhm.
having that unshakable internal belief that, yes, I can do this. I like to sometimes call it deluded optimism.
Oh,
I'm not
yes.
saying that that's what you've got, but I really resonate with that, of like, yes, this is going to work. It's going to be great. But like nearly every single person on this planet, of course, I get negative
Of course.
self-talk and limiting beliefs and things like that. And just having to battle with getting rid of them all of the time when they creep in is a real marathon in itself. So the fact that you have been dealing with your mental health as well on top of that, I can only imagine how tricky it's been. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, because I think so many people will resonate with that. And I also hugely believe that our 9 to 5 system is just not fit for purpose, because so many people need a lot more flexibility and various reasonable adjustments to be able to carry out their roles. And I think that is an entirely separate conversation. But what I want to really come back to is being an employed person for such an enormous part of your life and an enormous part of your career, and then having your own business and something that brings you so much joy, and the mindfulness aspect, and then the fact that you're still coaching and teaching in a way, which has obviously been a role that you've hugely been in because of being in the education sector. But what my question is what was it like leaving that identity behind and evolving into this new one? Or was there no feeling about it? Was it just liberating and exciting? Or was there something else with that?
Yeah, I would say identity is something I've always struggled with. As I say, not being a wife and a mother, those are labels and titles that I haven't achieved. So as a failure, feeling on my part for that. But I do remember, just going back slightly, as a brownie leader, when I put on my brownie t-shirt, it's just a t-shirt, it's nothing special, I felt a completely different person. So the confidence that came from, I learned so much through Girl Guiding it about myself. But all of that knowledge that I could then pass on to other people, I can teach the brownies. I brought up young leaders within the system. I taught them. That t-shirt was my armor and my identity. So when I did leave those ones behind in my 30s, I was then very lost. I lost my communities. I lost the sense of purpose that I had. I lost my leadership and identity within that. So then having to build that back up, becoming a teacher, a lecturer, initially, obviously, lots of imposter syndrome. How can I teach anybody? Actually, I've come to realize I'm actually quite good at it, and I'm not trying to big myself up, but this is my skill set. And then having to leave that behind, my course was closed. So it's obviously that was no reflection on me and my teaching abilities, although it felt like it. And then moving away, we moved location, so I had to change again. Then getting into this position, I was head of student appeals and misconduct and complaints. I was a senior manager and I was like, yes, this is it. I love this. And then to be made redundant, although I knew that was coming because of what was going on in the politics there at work, I felt very stripped. And it was like, I can't really do anything, can I? But whilst that transition was happening, I was also doing a diploma in silver metal clay at the Jewellers Academy. So that was kind of in the year before I became self-employed. And I'd chosen to do that because I wanted to learn. I love learning. And always picking up new things. But somebody said to me, you are a jeweller. Of course you're a jeweller. You're doing a diploma. And it wasn't until I started saying to myself, I am a jeweller and I'm going to announce myself as that, or I'm going to identify myself as that I actually started to have more confidence in my work. It wasn't a bit like, I've done a little thing. Look, don't you like it? It's lovely. It's a necklace. It's like, no, actually, I'm a jeweller. I'm a certified metal clay artist. Now, I think the word artist is a bit loose because that's not what I associate art with, but I recognise other people do associate that. My identity is actually, I am a jeweller and I'm a silver clay artist. And once I started accepting that as my reality and accepting that as an identity, that started to give me the confidence. So that transition was hard, but actually it started before I left work.
Yeah, which I definitely think would have made it a little bit easier. But was there any sadness around obviously your course being closed? I mean, that must have been really, really devastating. Yeah. But was there any other sort of emotions around that? Or even though you were being positive and looking towards the future and what your new business looked like, was there any additional feelings there?
I've missed my brownies. I've watched them grow up. I've missed my students, especially my international students who you've seen grow. And I guess it's seeing that growth in people that I've missed. So there was the sadness of, actually, I'm not going back to that life. I'm not going to be important in anybody's world anymore. But on reflection, I do teach my workshops and I love it. It's so easy for me. I don't have to struggle. I can get up and I can go and I can do it. And that is because I'm a teacher. That's naturally my role in life. So although I miss that kind of side of it, I am finding it in other ways. Funnily enough, I'd always wanted to be a teacher from the age of 16, but the life advice I got was you needed to do A-levels and go into a good university to be a teacher. And obviously, having not done my A-levels, I thought that door was closed to me forever. So I guess really, I've always been a teacher in my heart. It comes, ownership of that identity of teaching will rear its head in some ways, even if you're not an actual teacher.
I was going to ask you as well, what was the actual moment that you thought, I'm a jeweller now and I'm telling everyone I'm a jeweller? I absolutely love it. What is interesting to me as well is that it sounds like you branded yourself and identified as a jeweller maybe ever so slightly before you were maybe ready to do it.
Yes.
And I say ready,
Yes.
in inverted commas, who is ever ready for anything?
Never.
Never.
Ready.
No one. Not the big scary things anyway,
No.
right? We might be ready to go on holiday and ready to
Always ready to go on holiday.
exactly open our favourite tub of ice cream. But the hard things we're never ready for. So I really love the fact that you were like, no, I need to step into this new identity. I need to say that I'm a jeweller and I'm a teacher and I run my workshops and everything. So, what do you think that took for you to be able to do that before you were, as I say, quote unquote, ready?
So I'd heard of manifestation before. I would have previously put that in the category of kind of woo-woo-ness. I'm a very practical, sensible, test-driven person. I don't believe in that. But on that theme, I recognised that I needed to identify as a jeweller in order to. I don't really tell you how I knew. I just knew it was something I had to do. I had to move away from that negativity of you're not anything, you can't do anything. But no, you can. You can be a jeweler. You are a jeweler. You've done this bit of work. It's jewelry. You're therefore a jeweler, and you need to embrace that identity. So it was about embracing that identity to become, so effectively manifesting that identity of I'm a jeweler and that's what I'm going to do and what I want to do.
Yeah, brilliant. And your views, I think, are very sort of similar to mine, is that you can't just think about being confident. You have to actually put yourself, into that stretchy bit where you're dipping your toe outside of your comfort zone, because that's where the growth happens and that's where you build your confidence. Because no doubt you started calling yourself a jeweler, you then start hosting your workshops, people come, they have a lovely time, and that builds your confidence because you can see that other people are having a great time. But I'd love to touch on the whole mindfulness aspect of it. So can you tell us, like, what kind of walks of life people are coming to you are from, who are coming to do these jewelry workshops? Are we talking complete beginners here? Are we
Mhm.
talking about experts? Is it a mix? Like, who are you attracting to your workshop?
Lots of beginners. So people who've never even heard of metal clay. Sometimes people who think it is silversmithing. Pleasantly surprised when it's not. So yeah, there's quite a lot of crafters who are like, oh, I've always wanted to have a go. Metal clay is quite expensive. Although you can use a lot of things from your home, you don't need lots of tools or anything. The clay itself is expensive. And with the price of silver going up over the last 18 months, it has become more and more expensive. So I think people who have heard of it but never done it want to come and have a go because it's a safe environment to practice, and you don't need to get all the equipment. People who have never heard of it but just want an experience, I think a lot of gifts these days are, let's go and do something together, let's have an experience together. And that togetherness and the experience is actually what makes the present rather than the item. I had a group just before Christmas last year who came to do Christmas jewellery, but actually most of them were making presents for somebody else.
Oh, that is so
So it
lovely.
was a Christmas present to the group from one of them to do the workshop. And within that workshop, they then made presents. So there was a mother and daughter, and the mother bought it for the daughter, and the daughter made a pendant for herself and for her daughter. So the three generations really benefited from this workshop. So it is generally beginners.
And when you have people come to your workshops, what is the kind of feedback that you get about the mindfulness aspect? Because I'm sure creating a gift is just like incredible, exciting, fun. You get to spend time with your loved ones if you are going with a parent or a daughter or whoever. But do you get any feedback from your clients of how the whole process has made them feel?
Yes, a lot of people are surprised by how much they can make and how well they can make it. So at the end of the session, I know it's amazing.
It's so
People
great.
are just like, wow. So that, obviously they're happy at the end of the session because they have made something. The process of your design. So it's a 3-hour workshop, and really the first hour is about designing your piece. So you're thinking, you're taking time to slow down. You're learning a new skill, and the act of making the jewelry in that second hour is very consuming in your mind. So you're not thinking about anything else. You don't realize how quickly the time has gone, and you're just there and you're rolling your clay and you're cutting it and you're, shaping the edges. And it's not a frantic, busy thing. It's calm. And so I think that the feedback, people that are like, oh, it went really quickly, I've really enjoyed this, I'm proud of what I've made. So it's not just the mindfulness of being still, it's about escapism of everyday life, but also then being productive in your mindfulness as well.
And how does that then make you feel as a business owner and the person leading the workshop to see that in front of your very eyes?
It's amazing. It's why I teach. It's why I interact with people, just seeing people come up with ideas, and then the ideas that people come up with is amazing. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'm always a bit like, this isn't good enough, for me, not other people's, for me. where other people see beauty, I just see problems. That people going, oh, I want to do it like this. And I thought, oh, I never thought of that. Yes, that's an excellent way. Yes, that's really effective. And see people do things that I've done myself and then doing it better than I could have done. Or, the way they've shaped it. It's amazing seeing people's creativity.
Just was about to add on to that point as well, seeing other people's creativity, and no doubt because they are then doing something, achieving something, getting some sort of beautiful result at the end, they're probably going to feel more confident when they leave. But it could be that someone's going through a really stressful time or a really sad time, or they've got loads of worries, and actually you've just given them a lovely place to be creative, not have to think about their day-to-day worries, and potentially be surrounded by loved ones or
Yep.
other people who are sharing a similar activity with them.
Absolutely. And funnily enough, one of the skills, shall we say, that we use in the workshops is using a little kitchen torch to burn our pieces, to fire them and bring the silver out. And a lot of people are like, oh, fire, can't do it. They're either can't do it or yes, fire.
Oh, really?
And I was the same. I was a bit like, oh, I'm scared. I don't know how it works. I'm kind of a bit, because the majority of my clients are women. And I'm not saying that women can't do DIY in the slightest, because we absolutely can, but we don't have that knowledge necessarily. And sometimes some of the tools are a little bit scary because we don't know how to use them. So also seeing people go from, I don't really want to do that, to actually it's really easy. Let me show you. You can do it. I'll be there with you. Then firing their own pieces, dropping it in the water and hearing the whoosh as the steam comes up. People are like, oh, I did that. And that's the excitement of them overcoming that little fear. It's only a little fear. Yeah, it's amazing.
That sounds brilliant, because again, without even necessarily branding any of your workshops as like a confidence boosting activity, it is, isn't it? And I think it just works both ways, because your confidence will be boosted further by watching the reactions and the achievements of the participants, and likewise they will be conquering certain things. But also it's the mindfulness part for me, that I can just imagine so many people feeling like they haven't got a care in the world for a few hours, which
Yeah.
is just so important at the moment, particularly, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
just find it really interesting that teaching has obviously just been a very common thread for you throughout your
Yes.
career. And the whole sort of full circle moment of now you're teaching your own business and your own thing, and you're providing such a great memory as well for people. Like,
Yeah.
I'm already thinking to myself, oh my gosh, my mum would love this. And I just think, do you ever think to yourself, how did I get here? I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be a jeweler doing these workshops because of the kind of career that you came from initially.
Mm, absolutely. I would never have called myself a creative person at all. The people in my family have that title, and that's fine. I've always been the logical, process, methodical person. Um, so then to be able to say, no, I think I probably have been more like I could be a clockmaker, which my grandfather was, because that's very, I don't really know the word for that, but it's very putting pieces together, logical,
Yeah,
making a clock
methodical.
work, rather than airy fairy, let's make something that you could stick in your ears. I would never have described myself as that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. It's amazing.
What a brilliant journey you've been on. So, as you know, Vicky, this podcast is called Reclaim Your Voice. And I feel
Mhm.
like you have transformed so many times across your career and all the different roles that you've had. And we've talked a lot about identity today. So, my question for you is, in those different roles and where you've got to now, what has reclaiming your voice looked like for you?
I think it's been being true to myself. That inner core, I always come back to, is this, if it's not working for me, walk away. Never be afraid to walk away is the advice I'd give anybody. But the core in me is someone who's always been a teacher, and that has come out in those different roles. So just find what it is that you do or that you love, and that will be your guiding light. That will show you the way forward, I think.
What a lovely piece of advice. And where can we come and hang out with you? Where are you mostly spending your time online?
Instagram is my place, and that my handle is at the Silver Snail.
at the Silver Snail. And we will link all of that up in the show notes. But thank you so much for your time today, Vicky, and for telling us your incredible story. And I think that it will be so inspirational for people who maybe identify very similarly to you, of being the more logical, methodical person, but end up in a very creative role or have been employed for a very long time and then go self-employed. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this episode of Reclaim Your Voice. If today's conversation resonated, head to the show notes where you'll find my free audio gifts. And if this episode helped you in any way, it would mean so much if you shared it, rated or reviewed the show. That support helps these conversations reach the people who really need them. You can also watch the full episode over on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next one.